Oh my God, we gotta focus on that.
Well, don't worry about me.
Just personal hygiene.
Now do your beard.
This asthma.
Dude, one of these streams, I'm just gonna shave the beard live on air.
Why, Az? Why?
Hey, that's dangerous.
And leave the other half.
That is dangerous.
I will get your ass.
You're officially dead on the inside.
I feel like this
Nerdrotic.com.
Warner Brothers is going to release their entire schedule in 2021 on a streaming service. Now they're going to do day and date with theaters, which is just to appease them at this point. But it's over, folks. That's it. They are not going to spend $250 million on a single film anymore. They're going to use that on a series. So you won't see, it'll be rare. I'm sure like Amazon will do it on Netflix, but this big sprawling, epic adventure, something like Lord of the Rings is going to have to be a TV series now.
Oh my God, you're such a baby face.
I've had a lot of problems going to the movies in past years because of stupid ass people with their phones and talking and everything. Oh fuck, fuck, as no.
God, you got hair there too, man. Whoa.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's depressing, and I get really excited for big movies like I was gonna say Star Wars movies, but I haven't been excited for them in a long time. But more like Christopher Nolan movies, things like that. Endgame, Infinity War, a lot of those big tentpole movies. And we're just not going to be able to experience that anymore. I just don't think it's going to have the same impact.
This whole year has just flown them straight into the grave. And
this,
like you said earlier, this is just a bone they're throwing to the dead body of theaters. They're just like, look, optics, we need to make sure that we look good. So here's some movies.
One correction though, this is the end of U.S. theaters, because if you actually look to overseas markets, theaters are actually doing relatively well. Look to Japan.
Yeah,
Japan has a great film out called Demon Slayer. I haven't seen it yet, but it in Japan has already surpassed the amount of money Titanic made in that country and is about to surpass Spirited Away, which many people consider to be one of the greatest Japanese films of all time. So the theaters are not going away completely, but U.S. theaters, absolutely. The box office that we used to see is gone. That is absolutely gone.
The thing is, the blockbusters you and I are used to, something like Joker coming out now, that's going to go straight to streaming. We're not going to see that in the theaters anymore. So the question I pose is, would they have been healthier if Hollywood was more the Hollywood of 2012, 2014, not the Hollywood of 2017, 2008?
You mean, would they have survived the lockdowns?
Yeah, if they weren't as effing woke. Well, I mean, there was woke and then there's bankrupt, creatively bankrupt. It's the combination of the two that I think has severely hurt them. What you'll never hear in these articles is how a lot of the paying customers feel about this now.
I don't think it would have happened because even just in America, the culture was very different back then. Like, I think that now there is a time where more people were willing to let this stuff happen. I don't think they would have put up with it back then, to be perfectly honest. I think you would have had more people say, hell no, I'm not shutting down my business. Yeah. Like, that's just my take.
Yeah. People are more docile now.
Yeah.
Plus, I think the quality of movies in general has been declined. Like, there have definitely been certain ones like Joker, which I was blown away by. I did see that one in theaters, but for the most part, I had sort of stopped going to theaters, except for those that offered a superior experience, like the Alamo Drafthouse. If you're going there because it's not just a movie, but there's food and there's a guy that will come and tell the people in front of you to shut up. Then I'll go for that. But otherwise, I kind of quit going, as much as I used to. And even this year during the lockdown, I've noticed, this is just anecdotal, but among like my friends and I, we don't haven't been watching any of the new stuff that's coming out for streaming. I watch a lot of old like Overboard with Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn. You know, like a lot of the old movies, The Jerk, the comedy back then. It wasn't as precious, and it wasn't as afraid of offending, and so
it wasn't PC
quality. Yeah.
Nope. Yeah.
The chains were unsustainable anyway. I don't know about your guys. So up in San Francisco, there's a huge theater, Century 20 or 21 in Daly City. It had 3 levels, had a concession stand upstairs, and they haven't put anybody to work at that concession stand in years. And in this giant theater, they had like 5 people working. So there's no way, and the rent must be insane. Then, you know, of course, they Warner Brothers is giving them 60% of the instead of like 40, which they were getting. They were getting, you know, oh God, it was less than that, I think. Remember when Disney bent over all the theaters
for Star Wars
for freaking the Fall of Skywalker? Yeah, and you know, all this is going to come bite them in the ass when somebody like Apple buys Disney, or and Warner Brothers. You know, they're 160 something billion dollars in debt. Of course, they're all going to get bailed out by you and I. We're already hearing the shenanigans of what was supposed to go to us didn't. That's starting to come out now, and that doesn't get talked about at all.
I think actually movies will get better, to be perfectly honest, because if you have to have a smaller budget, it means you really have to focus more on story. And that's something, you know, kind of going back to what someone was saying earlier, what we found in more recent films, you know, compared to films 10, 20 years ago, is that they're so corporate now, right? There's this, that's why I hated Endgame, because there was such a corporate structure to it that it lost that sense of heart. And that's why I'm currently watching a film. It's actually, it just came out today on Netflix called Mank. It's a new David Fincher film. It's brilliant because it is, again, a very small scale film, lower budget, and I think that you can end up getting a lot of better stories from that. I mean, if Netflix can make films for their service and they're just on their service and they can sustain that to a point, then I think you could see other studios do the same thing.
So what they're going for is quality or quantity, not quality right now. And I think what happens is there's only so much creativity in the world, right? So there's a finite number of people who are top tier creative, and they choose to go to music, or right now it's still the top form of entertainment where you get paid the most to get the most notoriety is still television, film. But it used to be music. So the best artists used to go there. Now they're going here. But if you're going to get lost in all the noise, all the white noise of the streaming services that are going through this war right now, and there's still tons of investor money in places like, you know, for HBO Max and Disney Plus, so they could lose money for a few years. But when that stuff ends, when like 5 years from now, when they all have to start, you know, turning a profit, that's when you're going to see, and that could happen sooner.
Netflix has dumped tons of money into all of these different properties to acquire them and put them on their service in recent years. It's hard to know what their actual numbers are on that, if they're actually making their money back on that yet. That's, again, the problem with streaming. We already have $1 billion Lord of the Rings series in production from Amazon. The Mandalorian costs $100 million a season to make. So there is a lot of money already in some of these streaming services. Now, again, 8 episodes is different than 1 2-hour movie. And, you know, the rewatchability and the fact that people might be actually subscribing for a long time to your service for those things.
What if it moves away from movies and it turns into series, like like
Zack Snyder's Justice League?
That's exactly
I think that'd be great.
It's turning into a prestige series that's going to come once every like a blockbuster.
On the surface, like, I mean, as a fan, I do think that you have a better opportunity to tell stories better and flesh out characters better and everything like that. So I do feel that that's possible in the next 5 to 10 years, where we start seeing a lot less movies and a lot more series, because once The Mandalorian season 2 is said and done, it's kind of a one big movie, but they've broken it up into 8 different parts.
Some stories I think are best told with a time constraint. But I think you're right. I think you're all right. It's going to tend more towards series from now on. So I am going to miss that. And I've already been missing that movie going experience. So I do think it'll be sort of a niche thing. You know, when I lived in Los Angeles, I used to go to the New Art Theater a lot, and it was very niche. It's that kind of art house theater that shows bad movie night, and they would always be sold out. And you're going there for the experience of watching those films with people, or for something that's that's different than just sitting in a room with people enjoying it. It's like
Because you're watching The Room and getting to throw spoons at the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Troll 2. Actually, we're
Troll
watching
2.
Troll
Oh,
2.
Troll
That's a good one, too.
I just want to point out that Az is sitting in a puddle of wet beard hair at this moment.
That was hilarious.
Beautiful. Beautiful. If you like what I do here, please consider subscribing to the channel and liking and sharing the videos. It really does help. And if you did this with your favorite YouTuber as well, I'm sure they would appreciate it as much as I do.